Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. I am DC, your host of Barside Jive Live, and today is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019. We are so glad you guys chose to hang out with us tonight here at the very cool Vokal Media Studios in North Dallas. Our new location on the 4th floor, and it is some kind of badass. This show happens at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time every freaking Tuesday and features some of the very best cover and tribute bands in the whole country, and occasionally a legendary original singer-songwriter, as well as the coolest visual art creators, and of course my in-house Tipsy Gypsy. You can now download my shows on iTunes, Stitcher, or TuneIn. If you are listening to this episode as a podcast, you can actually watch it by going to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Barside Jive Live. This show is sponsored by
The Zoo
on Vokal,
the world's best rock, and can be streamed 24/7, 365 at vokalnow.com. It's always vocal with a
K.
Absolutely, it is, Bre. And that's where the deep cuts, the B-sides, the last tracks, the stuff you never hear on FM stations, old school FM, including all those commercials every 10 seconds. Who likes that crap? The bottom line is, with the Zoo, you get more of the good shit and less of the bad. That's why I'm a listener. All right, guys. On this day in rock history, the year is 1968, and Ringo Starr returned to the Beatles. Yes, that's what I said. He returned to the Beatles. The drummer had left the group 2 weeks previous as tensions escalated during the frustrating sessions for the White Album. Unknown to the public at the time, the recording sessions for the Beatles' White Album were incredibly fractious, working on their tracks in separate studios and bringing in the others when needed. It didn't help that John Lennon insisted that his new girlfriend, Yoko Ono, be present in the studio with him. Oh, Yoko. Thus, the self-titled LP signaled the beginning of the end for the Beatles. Guys, in 1965, fans at a Rolling Stones concert in Dublin were so overcome with enthusiasm that they charged the stage and started a riot. Footage from the incident was used in the documentary Charlie Is My Darling. The Stones, of course, are no strangers to riots or crowd chaos, that's for certain. The first two U.S. festivals which brought such names as the Ramones, the Police, Talking Heads, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and the Grateful Dead to the same stage kicked off in San Bernardino, California on this day, 1982. The festival was the brainchild of Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. The festival ran for 3 days in 110 degrees Fahrenheit weather. A little warm for me.
Nope.
There were 100 arrests and a reported 35 drug overdoses. The festival cost, well, let's just say the festival lost about $12 million.
Wow.
Ouch. Sorry, Steve. That hurt. Two classic metal albums were released on this day in 1984. Iron Maiden gave us Power Slave, which gave the world 2 Minutes to Midnight and the epic Rime of the Ancient Mariner. During the 2008-2009 Somewhere Back in Time World Tour, guitarist Dave Murray, vocalist Bruce Dickinson, and bassist Steve Harris cited the song as their favorite to play live. Now, 6 years later, in 1990, Judas Priest put out Painkiller, their last album to feature Rob Halford on lead vocals for 15 years. And I've got some birthday shout-outs. Al Jardine of the Beach Boys, 1942 is when he was born. Alan Charles Jardine is an American musician, singer, and songwriter who co-founded the Beach Boys. He is best known as the band's rhythm guitarist and for occasionally singing lead vocals on songs such as Help Me Rhonda, Then I Kissed Her, and Come Go With Me. Don Brewer of Grand Funk Railroad was born in 1948. Donald George Brewer is an American drummer who is best known as the drummer, co-lead vocalist, and only continuous member of the American rock band Grand Funk Railroad. And Sex Pistols guitarist Steve Jones was born in 1955 on this day. Stephen Philip Jones is an English rock guitarist, singer, actor, and radio DJ. Best known as guitarist with the Sex Pistols, he formed the Professionals with former bandmate Paul Cook. Also Mike Edwards, the founding cellist of the Electric Light Orchestra, ELO. He died on this day in 2010 when his van struck a 1,300-pound bale of hay near his home in Devon, England. Wow. Rest in peace, brother. All right. Got some good stuff coming.
I should
Bre Akers is the best ever. And she's got the best intro ever.
I know, and I'm telling you, I know it's secretly you.
Well, I did create it.
Create in quotes.
I'm still waiting on your creation. I said, Bre, the last thing I said is, Bre, we need to make an intro for your segment, or something really cool.
I'm not tech savvy like that.
Oh,
though,
yeah,
so
right, whatever.
That's,
Yeah, you're savvy.
All
All right, Bre,
right.
what you got for us tonight?
All right, guys. So if you follow us on Tuesdays, I typically talk about beer, wine, and industry trends. But this week, I figured I would talk about a event that happens all over the country and actually the world, and kind of the history of it instead of a trend.
Okay.
Yeah. So a little history lesson for y'all tonight.
History, some Bre-istory.
That's right. But before we get started, our history lesson is actually over Oktoberfest. So before we get into the details, I picked up a local Oktoberfest beer for us to try, of course.
Must be pumpkin-y.
It's not pumpkin spice beer this week, everybody.
Oh, man.
I know.
That wouldn't be good.
I am.
That
Last
hurt.
week was fun.
That hurt. Oh, my heart. Oh.
But see, at least you guys know we give real testimonials.
Yeah, really. It's true.
We couldn't pull that one off last week. So.
No, you're going to get some honesty, some raw honesty here, aren't you, Bre?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I figured over the next couple of weeks leading up to October, we try some different local Oktoberfest beers. So this one actually comes from Fort Worth Rar and Sons.
Rar.
Fort
Worth Rar and Sons.
That's right. So this is their Oktoberfest.
All right.
According to them, it is full-bodied, pours bright copper, rich and toasty, malty sweetness, balanced finish, and a 2015 GABF gold medal winner. I don't know what that is, but
I don't
it sounds
either. It
great.
sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds great. Sounds like one of
good.
our award shows that we have.
So we're going to have an Oktoberfest in our mouth.
That's right. And then I'm going to tell you.
We're going to have an oral fest.
Why'd you got to go there?
I know.
Why?
I could have said moisture.
Ooh, that's not a good word.
See, yeah. Moist is not a good word.
Let me see what we got here. Breed 'em.
All right. Let's see how this goes.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's way better than the pumpkin.
This is pretty tasty.
Yeah, I like
Pretty
it.
tasty.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty tasty. I can do it.
Well, pass it on down here.
So, history of Oktoberfest, guys. If you did not know that Oktoberfest actually traditionally starts the third weekend in September, and it ends the first Sunday of October. Oktoberfest began in 1810 on October 12th for the royal wedding.
No way.
Yes.
1810?
1810.
Wow.
So Crown Prince Ludwig, later to become King Ludwig I, was married to Princess Therese of, I'm about to butcher all this.
Hey, don't worry about
Saxony,
it.
Hildenburg, Haugesson, I don't know.
Sounds like you had one too many of those Oktoberfest
Yeah.
beers.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything sounds good after a couple of beers. So there's that. But basically, all the citizens of Munich were invited to attend the festivities held on the fields in front of the city gates to celebrate the royal wedding. The fields were renamed Teresa's Fields to honor the princess. And then they started horse races in the presence of the royal family, which marked the close of the event, which was celebrated at the festival for all of Bavaria. And the following year,
Wish I could have been there.
right?
Yeah, that'd been fun.
The following year in 1811, it continued and they featured the horse races and the first agricultural show designed to boost Bavarian agriculture. So the horse races themselves, which were the oldest and at one time the most popular event at the festival, actually are no longer held today.
Really?
Yes.
They were having so much fun, they just canceled it.
They just canceled it.
Yeah, well, that's what I do. When something's really fun, I just cancel it.
Yeah, like, oh well, great times,
Because I'm
guys.
a dumbass.
Yeah, you just
That's not
you just
funny.
really can't top it. Like, no higher expectations. But a few years later, in 1818, the first carousel and 2 swings were set up in the park.
The carousel?
A carousel and
serious?
2 swings replaced the
You're
horse
serious?
races.
Can you imagine the line for the 2 swings?
Yeah, really, totally. I love the carousel at Six Flags. It's like the first stop when I come in the gate.
The carousel. Of all the things at Six Flags,
Yeah.
the carousel.
Oh, I love the carousel.
Okay.
It's so old school, you know. It just reminds me of like my youth,
A simpler time.
a simpler time.
Well, what do you think?
It
Like,
just goes round and round.
what do you think? Like the rules were for the swings? Like, can you only like swing for like a minute, or like so many pushes? Or
I do like swings, but swings aren't like horses, like model horses.
Well, since they got rid of the horse
what the hell.
races,
How
and
did they
put-
come up with swings?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
So they, so now like they don't do the horse races, but this all started with swings and a carousel, and they decided that they needed to quench their thirst. So naturally, they started setting up beer stands.
Oh, okay.
So all right,
that works.
got some swings and some beer.
Because they got really thirsty with all the swinging.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
in 1896.
1896.
The beer stands were replaced by the first beer tents. So they grew.
Oh, yeah, of
Yes.
course.
Beer tents.
Beer tents and halls were set up by the enterprising landlords with backings of local breweries.
Wow.
Yes.
Cool.
So today, Oktoberfest in Munich is actually the largest festival in the world.
In the world.
In the world.
Wow.
In Munich.
In Munich.
Munich, Germany.
That's right. So the
Yeah,
biggest
those
festival.
old Germans, they know how to drink beer.
That's right. So at the foot of the Bavaria statue, there are carousels, roller coasters,
And swings.
And swings.
And swings.
Swings.
And swings.
Yeehaw!
In 2010, they actually celebrated, their 200th anniversary. However, this year is actually the 186th Oktoberfest because the only times Oktoberfest has not happened was during years of war and when there were cholera epidemics.
Yeah, I got to take a break for that cholera. Guys, sorry, no fest. We're having cholera.
It's the cholera fest.
So, I'm sure a lot of you guys may have some local Oktoberfest going on, so
Yeah.
take part in it.
Of course.
And with that being said, I have partnered with a local Oktoberfest. Addison Oktoberfest happens here in North Texas, September 19th through the 22nd.
And Addison, that's close.
That's close.
Right across the street.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So, if you are some listeners in Texas or honestly anywhere, but you want to come to Texas,
Stay with Bre's place.
Yeah, sure.
She'll come get you. She'll come pick you up, take you to her place. You can hang out with her and her man and enjoy the fest.
Yeah, sure. That's good. We'll
Yeah,
trade room and board for yard
absolutely.
work and things.
1-800. 1-800 call Bre.
That's right. That's my number for sure. 1-800-CALL-BRE. We'll just, Jay, flash it right down here. 1-800-CALL-BRE.
There you go, Jay.
Yeah.
He ain't that quick.
All right. Well, maybe next week. So anyway, if you are interested in going to the Addison Oktoberfest, I have partnered with them. And if you follow me on Instagram at It's the Tipsy Gypsy, you can enter to win 4 general admission passes and 4 commemorative steins to get your drink on.
Commemorative steins.
That's right. So you can sit there and watch people swing and ride carousels and...
So if I go to that festival, will I get a stein?
If you win.
Oh, you got to win.
Oh,
Well,
you gotta win.
Oh,
I
you gotta
mean,
win.
but you can go buy steins, commemorative steins.
I could buy a stein. I'd like to have a stein.
I have
I
several
want to have a
steins.
stein I can drink from on the show.
I have several
There's
steins.
Do you?
I'll bring one for you.
Have you been to?
Really?
Have you
Yeah,
been
from
to-
Germany? I think probably
Nuh-uh.
from Munich.
Serious?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, man. I totally would love to drink out of a big-ass stein.
Drink coffee out of them.
Do you really?
Great.
Oh, man.
Have you
the
ever
little
been
lid
to
on
Worst Fest?
No, worst? No. I only go to Best Fest.
Best Fest? Oh, that figures. Well, if you ever want to go to a Worst Fest, I highly recommend it. So,
Okay, I'll have to go.
yes.
I have been to German Fest,
Okay.
but I haven't been to Worst Fest. But I have been to Best Fest.
Best Fest.
I've been to Best Buy.
Best Buy? I was in Best Buy last week.
Yeah.
I think we're taking over her segment.
I think we are.
It's okay. Well, guys, Best Buy does not serve beer or commemorative steins.
But they got cool electronics.
Yeah. So, but yes, again, if you go to at It's the Tipsy Gypsy on Instagram, you can enter to win. The contest runs until Friday, where we'll be picking a winner, and then you can take 3 of your friends to Addison's Oktoberfest. And if not, just head on over there to check out all the other fun stuff, updates on the show here, and all the other good stuff.
Very cool, because at It's the Tipsy Gypsy, the place to be, guys, on Instagram. At It's the Tipsy Gypsy. And if you're not there, you should be at Barside Jive. But I'm not as fast an updater as she is, so.
I mean, I tag him in a lot of stuff, so you can find him on there
She
too.
does. She does tag me. She tags me.
Tag
And I
you're
just
it.
ignore it. No, I don't. Actually, add it to my, what do you call it? My story?
Your story.
Add it to my story.
There you go. Good job.
All right, Bre.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Nope. Enjoy
Oh.
Oktoberfest.
All right, we'll see you guys at Oktoberfest in Addison. We'll be there with our steins.
Steins. Steins.
Guys, it is time for Art Jive Live. And my guest tonight is my new Barside Jive creative director, Brad Jensen. Welcome, Brad.
Well, thank you for having me. It's going to
Hey,
be fun.
man. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's always fun with you. And we decided that, we're going to do some little album art.
Yeah, we're going to do some album art because there's some really interesting myths and urban legends that go along with all these cool classic rock albums from the 60s and 70s.
Absolutely, there are. And so we're going to feature a visual artist maybe once a month, and then we're going to the rest of the time just do some album art because there's so much out there.
There is so much out there. You can become a nerd with all the knowledge and just the fun facts of all the
right.
the things that go, the thought process that goes behind making these album covers. The artwork is incredible. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
So I gave you some choices.
You did,
and you picked one. Of course, it was my favorite band, but that's not the reason you chose it, I'm sure. But tell us what you found.
What I found was this one right here.
Oh,
you know what this one is?
Led Zeppelin 4.
Led Zeppelin 4.
Yeah.
And this is the front.
Yeah.
And
show it up there at your camera.
the front right here.
There you go.
And then, we go out the back.
LZ4, baby.
Yeah. And this was, I guess it hit the stores or the markets in November 8th, 1971. And it was their, like you said, their fourth album that they released, Led Zeppelin. And Jimmy Page wanted no writing or anything else that identified who it was. It was Led Zeppelin.
Wow.
And so he wanted no writing on the front, not even on the spine. Is there any writing on it?
Right.
And no names on the back, nothing. And it's pretty cool. And it was ahead of its time because at the time the record company was like, no way, we've got to have writing because people got to know what they're buying.
Right.
And Jimmy was like, no, we're not doing that. And they wanted it on the spine. At least let us put something on the spine. And Jimmy was like, no, we're not putting anything on it. So they didn't. And what was really interesting is on the cover, this old man right here, Robert found this painting. He bought this painting at an antique store, and they're out antique. Who would have thought Led Zeppelin goes antiquing? Which I thought was cool.
Right.
I mean, so
right.
Anyways, he bought this painting, and then when they did the photo shoot for the album, there was a halfway demolished house. I guess they were doing some construction or, anyways, in the area, and so they hung this painting up on the wall of this house. That the only thing was standing was just this wall, and so they took a picture. Not Jimmy or Robert, but I guess the photo guys did. Anyways, took a picture, and then on the right behind it, if you open it up, right here is, you see it this way. You see where the wall is torn down, and then behind it is the tower. I think they called it the Tower of, let me go back here to my notes. Salisbury. Sound like I've been drinking some of that beer.
Sound like me.
Salisbury. The Salisbury Tower. It's featured in the back, and it's in Birmingham, England. I almost said Alabama. Birmingham, England.
Right.
And so, yeah, and then over here, if you look down here next to this building, right there's a little sign. It's not too little if you look at it here. But and it talks about feeding the every day there's a person on the planet that goes hungry.
Wow.
And so, I mean, there's a lot of little things into this album when you look at it. You're just like, wow, that's really cool.
Right.
And then you open it up. No, we're not going to open it up yet because that's where the really fun stuff is. But anyways, you take the album out, and what we have now is just the symbols up here on top.
Right.
And so, again, Jimmy didn't want names anywhere, so he gave everybody, the Robert and John an assignment to go and make up their own symbols.
Right.
And so, of course, Jimmy's is Zozo, and they say that is... there's some speculation it's supposed to be represents Saturn. And then there's other speculation that he was following
satanic
yes,
stuff.
Satan. He was following Aleister Crowley, and so that's where he came up with his symbol. And then John Paul Jones, his symbol is this one right here, second one over. And that one means someone that's, what does it say again? I've been reading so many of these things. That represents confidence and competence.
Which he was.
He was. I mean,
he is.
Yeah, he played several different instruments. And then the other one next over is John Bonham. And I just thought that was drums and a cymbal. Of course, that's easy.
Right.
And but no, he was saying that the three symbols represented father, mother, and child.
Wow.
Which is really touching.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's very
okay,
cool.
this badass guy.
Yeah.
And then the last one over is Robert Plant, and it's a feather. And that one came from don't make fun of the civilization. It's called Moo civilization.
Moo.
It's where the cows came from.
Moo.
No, I'm kidding. So anyways, that's a lost civilization that was sacred to them, that feather. And since he was the songwriter and singer, he wanted to use the quill to represent him. And
very cool.
Yeah. And even the font here is Jimmy Page saw that font again in a 19th century book of crafts, and he hired an artist to create the font and do the whole alphabet in that font.
Right.
And so that's the font that they use for the writing of Stairway, and also for the titles on the songs.
Right.
And so I thought it was really cool. I mean, who thinks about that? Let's create our own font.
Right.
You know, let's sit down. We made all these songs,
Right.
spent months in the studio. Let's spend months creating a font.
Right.
I say I can hardly make dinner. So let alone a font. And
Yeah.
album.
Right.
So that was interesting. And then the really fun stuff. Like, so you can spend hours researching all this. But anyways, when you open it up, and as a kid, you opened this up and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Wow. Yeah.
And let's move it out of the way of the computer here so you can see all of it. There we go. And so you open it up, and this character here is called the Hermit. And Hermit. And so you investigate the Hermit, and you're looking at it, and you're going, okay, this is kind of cool. But then you get all the myths and everything. And I didn't believe it until I started researching it. But you can make out one of the myths or legends is the hermit standing on the back of a dove. And if you open it up and look at it, yeah, that could be it.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I'll buy that one. And then the other one is the way the cloak of the hermit. Is that really his cloak, or is that feathers from a fallen angel that trickles down?
Right. Right.
And so
Okay.
that was interesting. And then there was like up underneath here, I don't know if you guys can see it. It's cloven hooves.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're like going, well, is that again Satan?
Right.
And then you look at the head of this hermit, and why is his head so freaking pointy? Because if you look at the hood, and part of the speculation is because there's horns underneath there,
Oh, okay.
keeping the hood up. And but then the really cool part is if you put these two albums together, put it next to a mirror where it reflects itself, it creates another image, and that other image will actually finish the dog, the black dog, because the one song in there, Black Dog.
Right.
And so if you look at it now, kids at home or adults at home, put this album next to a mirror, and you could see where you've got this will be one ear, then you've got over here an ear,
Right.
and then it makes the dog's face.
Right. Right.
It's really, I mean, all this thought that went into
Right.
creating this art, which I just find, again, they spent all the time making the songs, and now they're going to spend time putting all this thought into this album.
Right.
And there's a lot more stuff, like the star inside the lantern. They call it the Star of Solomon, or the Seal of Solomon. And it's like, again, all these little nuggets of,
Yeah.
you can spend hours just
Oh, yeah.
researching just these little bitty nuggets. It's really interesting, and I spent hours up to 2 and 3 in the morning just reading stuff, and I got way more notes than what we're going to have time to go through today. But yeah,
Right.
it was really interesting. It was a fun project, And any other questions?
Shoot, no, man. I tell you, we were talking earlier, Brad and I, and it's like, we remember back when we were kids and we'd ride our bicycles to the record store and buy an album just like this one.
Yeah.
And carry it home and, man, just plow into it, read the front, the back, the inside covers, and then, pull out the sleeve and read the liner notes and everything else is contained. And sometimes they'd put something special inside.
Put a sticker in there. And
some cool stuff. And, you could spend hours, and we did, just reading. And, of course, now the information that's available actually, especially, if it's artist-driven, you can actually understand a little bit more about what was in the art because of all that's available on the internet. But,
Yeah, I mean, it's I found interesting is that the artist or the musicians, the true I guess artists behind it, is they cared about it that much to fight the record industry,
right?
And they stood on principle,
right?
And they won. And I just found that that's how much they believed in how important the packaging was,
right?
Because they knew it was going to create a cool experience at the end of the day for. Right. You going back from the record store on your bike,
right? Going
into your house, or me, my record store was Kmart,
right?
Back over there in Hearst off, I think, Pipeline or something,
right?
And so that's where we'd go.
I think my first one was in Treasure City.
I remember Treasure City off Denton Highway.
I think Treasure City
Haltom
was
City.
My first one. Yeah, my first record store I went to. Yeah.
Wow.
But
we're old.
Yeah, I know. It's okay.
It is.
It's okay. It's fun. Fun getting old. It's beats the alternative.
Yeah, it does.
I guess at least right now it does.
Yeah, but so it's a fun little project we're doing, and
cool.
It's just gonna get better from here.
Well, Brad, I'm tickled that you're enjoying it, and I think that us getting a chance to delve into the art, the album art. I think that's something that we don't see a lot of, and I'm glad we're going to get into that with your expertise, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we bring the other weeks.
Oh yeah,
going forward.
Yeah, there's going to be some fun stuff that we're going to get into, and because a lot of the especially the artists today that are coming back out with the vinyl, they're doing some really fun stuff with the vinyl and with technology. And I mean, it's pretty cool. So we're going to highlight that as well.
I think our audience will be pleasantly surprised at the cool stuff that you're going to be able to unwrap for them.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we could probably do is unwrap one. That'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get a brand new one and then
there you go.
Go back to when you were a kid, opening it up.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Excited.
It's like Christmas.
And then drop the needle.
Drop the needle.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That's right. Well, Brad, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
I'm tickled to death that Brad is my creative director for the show, and his input is just worth its weight in gold, and look forward to seeing a lot more of Brad. So, Brad, thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you. Well, guys, my guest today, drum roll, circa 1948 on September 3rd, Clara Eileen and Donald A. Brewer of Swartz Creek, Michigan, gave birth to one of the most celebrated drummers in classic rock history, Mr. Don Brewer. It runs through his blood because by the age of 12, Don starts his very first band. 12 years old, guys. They called themselves the Red Devils. Quickly adapting a style uniquely his own, Brewer moved on to his next band, the Jazz Masters. The band evolved into Terry Knight and the Pack. And Don experiences his first top 40 hit in 1966 with I Who Have Nothing. Can you imagine that at that age? It's just quite an accomplishment. 1969 is a pivotal year when Brewer, along with Mark Farner and Mel Scatcher, forms the first major power trio to rock the world with Grand Funk Railroad. His career skyrockets in 1973, especially with Grand Funk's #1 hit, We're an American Band, which Brewer not only wrote, but he sang while playing his historical drum licks. Also to his list of credits are Shining On and Walk Like a Man. He is also the lead singer on the hit record Everyone Sings Along To. Some Kind of Wonderful. Grand Funk goes on to record 12 gold and 10 platinum albums. In the years 1983 and 1987, Don is recruited to play on tour with Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. The 1987 tour proves to be the largest grossing tour of that decade. Don also tours extensively with Seger in 2006, 2007, 2011, and 2012. The highlights of this outstanding musician's career covers the gamut, including bongo features on Frank Zappa's song Let Me Take You to the Beach, a feature in class rock drum solos, Modern Drummer magazine, VH1's Behind the Music, Classic Drummers, 2011 Hall of Fame, and many, many others. Brewer also has had numerous TV appearances with both Seger and Grand Funk Railroad, including David Letterman, Jay Leno, and Good Morning America. Since 2000, Don continues touring with Grand Funk Railroad, performing 40 shows a year with Grand Funk. He's excited to be on the road, thrilling the fans once again with their current American tour. A little bit about Don's personal life. Don lives in Jupiter, Florida, with his wife, Sunny Quinn, a 23-year-old radio veteran of the West Palm Beach market. Originally, she's from Long Island. They first met in '83 and have been together since 1985. They raised two beautiful daughters, Logan and Dale, and now enjoy two wonderful new grandsons, Joseph and Jackson. They share and support their love of animals and have two cats, Cooper and Zoe, and a Pasofino horse, appropriately named Drummer. Wow. So let's welcome Don Brewer to the show. Hey, I'm DC, host of Barside Jive, and I am also on the zoo at vocalnow.com, the world's best rock. David Frick from Rolling Stone magazine once said, "You cannot talk about rock in the 1970s without talking about Grand Funk Railroad. They've got 12 gold albums, 10 platinum albums, plus they're making their 50-year milestone this year, 2019. I am here with the legendary Don Brewer, singer, drummer, and songwriter for the first major power trio to rock the world. From Flint, Michigan, Grand Funk Railroad. Don, it is so great to have you as a guest on my show today."
Hey, DC, thanks for having me on. Yeah, we're coming down. We're coming to your town. We'll help you party it down. It sounds like fun on Saturday night.
Oh, it's going to be a great time. Yeah, the Wildflower Festival is always a good time, and you guys being there just going to make it extra special for this year. Plus, it's your 50th, so that's going to be really great. You got anything big planned for that show?
Oh, we always have big plans for every show, but we really focus on giving everybody the hits, rock and roll, soul, foot stomping music. I'm your captain, closer to home, inside looking out, some kind of wonderful locomotion. We're an American band, as well as many other things that we incorporate into the show. But it's a great rock and roll show, and I encourage everybody to come out and smile and sweat and have a good time.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to do that very thing, Don, and I will be there as well. This is really huge for me, being here with you. I'm an avid fan going back until the early 70s, and I can still remember walking into Sound Warehouse in Dallas buying the Closer to Home LP. After, hearing your first live album, you guys were totally my favorite American band. And in fact, you guys were so much of a favorite of so many people I know that when a lot of my drummer friends, heard that I would be having you on my show today, they were like, "Dude, he's my favorite." you know. And so these are guys like in their 40s and 50s now, and they're just like going crazy. They're going, we want to be there, you know. And I had to tell them they couldn't do it. Anyway, they're looking forward to hearing this show. So, but you know, that quote in Rolling Stone magazine, it was huge, right? It was quite complimentary. But Rolling Stone wasn't always that kind to Mark, Don, and Mel, was it?
No, you know, when we first started out, you know, there was a war going on between our manager at the time, Terry Knight, and Rolling Stone. You know, and Rolling Stone was, you know, very, you know, snooty, so to speak. And Terry, you know, Terry always kind of tried to sell the bill of goods that he was the Svengali, and that Mark, Don, and Mel were just his puppets, you know, and you know, kind of like, you know, putting together a band like the Monkees or something, you know. And you know, we had to, you know, we had some, you know, some hurdles to jump over to prove otherwise, you know. And it was funny, you know, Rolling Stone smashed us up until the point that we fired Terry Knight, and then the first time we played Madison Square Garden after we fired Terry Knight, the guy that came from Rolling Stone gave us a great review. So I don't know. Seems kind of like a coincidence to me.
Yeah, exactly. Don, I'd like to go back to the very beginning of your career, music career, and talk about your early success when you were with Terry Knight and the Pack, because you guys experienced your first top 40 hit at the age of 18, right?
Yeah, I think it was probably 19. You know, I was probably 19 when we got, I think we put out Time Machine was our very first single, and On Time was the album. It was coming off of the first Atlanta Pop Festival in Byron, Georgia, in 1969, and you know, we really made it as a live band before radio picked us up and started playing our stuff. So that was really kind of always our calling card, was being a great live act.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of what, you know, that's what we hang our hat on, and we still do to this day. I think, you know, we put out a great rock and roll show, and that's why people come back and see us.
Right. Back in that day, around the Pack or early Grand Funk Railroad, who were the drummers that you really admired? Who were the most influential for you?
Well, you know, I first started listening to Louis Bellson and Buddy Rich, and, you know, those guys in swing bands, you know, because my dad was a former swing band drummer back in the Depression. Right. And so, you know, when I first learned how to play drums, and, you know, I sat in the basement with my dad, and he showed me how to sit behind a kit, and we would listen to records and learn how to play. The first drummers that I was, you know, really following after were the guys that played for Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis and all of those things. And then, of course, my very first favorite drummer was Dino Danelli from the Rascals. Yeah, I just loved the way Dino played. I loved the Rascals and all of the stuff that they played, you know, and that was my first real serious drumming influence. And then, of course, Hendrix, Mitch Mitchell, playing with Jimi Hendrix Experience, and, of course, Ginger Baker from Cream. Right. And those were my big idols, you know.
Right. Guys, I'm with Don Brewer from Grand Funk Railroad on Barside Jive. So, Don, you know, after the Pack, then came Grand Funk Railroad. How did that transition occur?
Well, we had played around Michigan for, I don't know how many years. We were playing all these places, and actually Terry Knight had been in and out of the band a couple of times, and Mark Farner had come and gone from the band a couple of times, and we were struggling. You know, we were trying to, you know, get gigs and stuff, and so we decided to change our name to Grand Funk Railroad, and we were naming it after the railroad in Michigan, Grand Trunk and Western Railroad, and of course a term for music had come along in the late '60s, funk. You know, so we did a play on words and called our band Grand Funk Railroad because it got a lot of attention. Everybody thought you were saying the other four-letter word. You know, back then it was a little risque. Right. And we started doing, you know, all of the material we were doing from the Pack, but we did it as a three-piece band. You know, Mark Farner and I enlisted Mel Shocker from the band Question Mark and the Mysterians. We got him to play with us, and we wanted to form a power trio like Hendrix and Cream and Blue Cheer and those bands, and we were taking our R&B format. We were really kind of an R&B band pumped up on steroids, and that's what we did for Grand Funk Railroad, and it worked. You know, it kind of made us different from those other bands. You know, Hendrix and Cream, as far they were more of a blues-based band. You know, and we had our R&B thing. You know, and so that's what we cranked it up and cranked up the volume and started playing with random abandon. and that's what got us noticed.
Man, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
And it's still working.
It still works. You know, I mean, a lot of it is the attitude. You know, the attitude you play with.
Right. So now you're touring now with an all-star lineup besides you and Mel, both the original members of Grand Funk. Tell us who else is in the band.
Well, we've been touring with this band now for, can you believe it, 19 years. You know, we've got myself and Mel Shocker,
Right.
along with Max Carl from 38 Special. Max is the guy that sang and wrote 38's biggest hit, Second Chance.
Right.
We've got Bruce Kulick, who played with Kiss back in the 80s when Kiss took their makeup off and they were trying to be a good rock and roll band.
Right.
And Bruce played, I don't know, he must have played, 4 or 5 albums with Kiss. And you know, we're very fortunate to have him in the band. And we got Tim Cashin from Bob Seger's band, as well as Robert Palmer's band and many others. And, just a terrific keyboard player and a backup singer. You know, he sings all the backups, all the high stuff on the backup. So, it's a great band. And, believe it or not, we still like each other.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. 19 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was the thought behind going from a 3-piece to a 5?
Well, we were, as we progressed through the 70s, and we went from being a trio to a 4-piece. We added Craig Frost in about the time we did We're an American Band and all of that kind of stuff. And we were kind of converting to being a pop hit band rather than being an underground band, because FM radio had changed from being an underground format to being a hit format. So you had to kind of go along with the progression. So we added Craig. And then as we got better recording techniques, we had more overdubbing going on and more, vocals being played or overdubbed, and all these harmonies. So when we put this band together to get 5-piece, we wanted to cover all the bases. And so we figured with a 5-piece, Max, who's the lead singer, can also play guitar and keyboards and harmonica and you name it, he can play it. So, we kind of cover all the bases that way. And so it really sounds like, any recording we want to do, we can sound that way.
Right. So what is touring like now for you, Don?
Well, it used to be back in the early 70s, we used to do 2 albums and 2 tours a year. And we would get out of doing an album, and literally the album would take us about a week to record. And we'd get done with it, and we'd be on the road, and we'd do 40 shows in 40 days. Literally in 40 different cities. And now we do about 40 to 45 shows a year. So that's a huge difference. And,
right.
And much better on us, and much better for us. That kind of thing. And the other thing that's changed, and the other things that have changed actually, are the technology and the equipment that we have. All of the electronics is just amazing what they've done with electronics now, and the lights. The lights and the sound are just eons beyond where we were back in the late 60s, early 70s.
But there's nothing like putting that first live album, with everything like it was back in that day, throwing that on a turntable and listening to it.
Loud.
Oh, loud.
Listening to it loud.
That is the most amazing experience, Don. I tell you, it was a fantastic album and a great show. And listening to it just so raw, I just really, really love it.
Well, that's when live records were live. It's when the Eagles started putting out live records, there wasn't anything live about them.
Right.
Right. When we did live albums, especially that first one, it was literally live. It was done in 3 different shows, I think, and there were no overdubs anywhere. There was no covering up mistakes. It's all there.
It's awesome. Hey guys, I am with Don Brewer from Grand Funk Railroad on Barside Jive. So Don, American Band was Grand Funk Railroad's first #1 single, and it experienced huge chart success. I want to know what inspired you to write that song.
Well, the inspiration was, Terry Knight, who we've talked about, a couple of times here,
Right.
was our former manager, and he had a couple of cricket attorneys that were also our attorneys, and they had negotiated themselves into a situation where they were taking all of our money.
Right.
And when we found out about it, we fired Terry, and of course, and then he sued us, and so we had all these lawsuits flying, and radio it was changing at the same time from being FM underground to being the new hit format, and we needed to come up with hit records.
Right.
And so we're flying into towns, we're going from town to town, and Terry is suing every city that we're playing in. And as we're flying into towns, the thought came to my head one day: we're coming to your town, we'll help you party it down. So I wrote the song. I said, okay, I'm gonna take a stab at writing a hit song here, and I wrote the song around that. I incorporated the 4 chords I know on a guitar, and all 4 chords are in that song. And I put the stories that were going on the road at that time: up all night playing poker with Freddie King, the 4 young Chiquitas in Omaha, Sweet Sweet Connie in Little Rock. Put all the little stories together, all the little snippets, and came up with this bridge. Actually, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, out. That was the arrangement I had in my head. I had this little Martin guitar, that I plucked along to play the song on. And I didn't really have a tag for it until, one day it just dawned on me, we're an American band, sang really well, we're an American band. God, it just sounded so good to sing it, and that was where it came from. It's just, I wasn't trying to wave the flag and go, oh my God, we're an American band. It was just like, wow, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
So that's where the song came from.
So it was your idea to do the drum lead?
It was it was Farner's idea to come up with the cowbell. He said, oh man, it's got to have a cowbell on it, and then of course I was doing I was always big on the kick drum thing. I was always, everybody called me the foot, so I came up with that lick on the, it sounds like, it's a double bass drum, but I played a single bass drum,
Wow.
back then. And that's where the lick came from.
You really started out in your music career playing the clarinet?
I did.
Did you?
Actually, the tonet before that, because when you got in the bands back then, you had everybody that was going to play any instrument had to learn how to play a tonet, which is blowing this little pipe, a little flute, and learn some fingering and learn how to read. And then you would decide, okay, later, well, I want to play trumpet, or I want to play clarinet, or whatever. And of course, my mother, said, "Oh, you should play the clarinet. It's such a nice instrument." So yes, I learned the clarinet first, and then I hated it. And I worked my way from last chair to first chair in the clarinet section. And then because I hated it, I worked my way back to the last chair. And then one day, the instructor was looking for volunteers to go back in the drum section because we were going into marching season, football season and marching band season and all that stuff. And they needed a guy to play to carry the bass drum because it was all girls in the drum section, and it was a no-brainer to me, and it's all girls in the drum section,
right.
And I'm going to play the bass drum. I got that's me,
right? Yeah.
And so there I went, and that was it. That was my switch to drums, and I went home and told my dad I was playing drums, and he just loved it because he was a former drummer in a swing band back in the Depression, and so.
Right.
He got a kit, and set up a kit in the basement, and we used to sit down there, and he'd show me how to play a drum kit. We'd listen to records, and he'd show me what the drummer was playing on a drum kit. That's how I learned to get into drums.
Right, Don. I have a very similar story to yours, except I wound up with the trombone. So yeah. So yeah, what is that?
Girls always play a key in there, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, you guys have seen so much success, from selling out New York Shea Stadium in 71 in 72 hours, I believe, faster than the Beatles did in 65, to seeing your music played in movies and on commercials. Are there any other highlights that really stand out in your mind that you're really proud of?
Well, there was a time period we played. We were on the stadium circuit. We played a stadium in Tokyo in the middle of a typhoon. And literally the audience stayed. The place was packed, and they stayed. And it was the rain was blowing sideways, and we played. And that became a legendary concert.
Wow.
But I got to say the thing that inspires me still to this day is getting up on stage in front of a crowd and singing, some kind of wonderful, I'll start singing, I don't need a whole lot of money. I don't need a big fine car. And pretty soon the audience is singing louder than I am. And I can look out there and I can see grandparents and parents and kids and grandkids, and they're all singing the words to that song, as well as Closer to Home and American Band and Locomotion. And, there's just nothing like, there's no thrill in the world like that, to see that kind of thing happen. So that's what keeps me going.
I'm surprised that you didn't throw out there one of your highlights were playing the bongos on Frank Zappa's song, Let Me Take You to the Beach.
Let Me Take You to the Beach. Yeah. Frank, we worked, we got Frank to do an album with us, good singing, good playing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a great album. And I became, pretty good friends with Frank. And I was out there, while he was mixing that record, and he was also working on his stuff in the studio at the same time. And he just, one day he just invited me. He said, I'm working in the studio, and why don't you come over, and I got this track, Let Me Take You to the Beach. I want you to play bongos. I said,
wow.
That'd be great. So,
that's really cool.
So that was pretty cool.
And I know you've performed and toured with Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. How did that happen?
For many, many years, yes, I first met Bob back in the late 60s, when he had Bob Seger in the Last Herd, and we were the Pack, and we would cross paths in little teen clubs that we were playing in back then. And then later on, Grand Funk broke up, and actually Bob got Craig Frost, our keyboard player, in his band as a keyboard player. And then a couple of years past then, Seger was looking for a new drummer. And they called me and said, what are you doing? And I said, well, right now I'm not doing anything. And they said, well, would you like to come down and try playing with us? And so I hooked up with them. And, this was in the 80s, early 80s, 1982. And I started being their tour drummer in 82, 83, 86, 87. And then, I started again in 2006. And I've done, I don't know how many countless tours with those guys. And it's kind of like my second family.
Right.
And actually we are doing, we're doing some shows now with them. We've done 5 now so far on his farewell tour. Bob is hanging it up now. And this week we're actually doing a show in Charlotte with the Silver Bullet Band. So a great night of rock and roll, Grand Funk Railroad and Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. And then we got a couple more coming up after that. So that's how I hooked up with those guys.
Well, that's awesome. It really is. I'm sure you've got some great experiences hanging out with Bob Seger.
Oh, it's been a great great experience. Playing, kind of playing outside the box. All of the Grand Funk stuff, was always my stuff. It was parts that I came up with, and I wrote all the drum parts, and I came up with the way they were going to be in the arrangements and so forth and so on. And then when you're playing with somebody like Bob Seger, you're covering basically 5 or 6 or more other drummers. He goes into the studio and has countless drummers play on his stuff. It's kind of a reach to step outside yourself, and I've loved it. It's been a great experience.
Well, Don, do you have any advice for aspiring musicians?
Well, it's the one thing that's the same. Everything else has changed in the music business. The recording techniques and the way, there's no records anymore. Everything is downloads and everything's done on the internet, and all of that's different. But the one thing that's the same is that anybody who wants to make it in the entertainment business has got to have a thick skin. Because everybody's going to tell you can't do it, and you can't do it, you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you just have to say, yeah, I can do it. That's what I'm going to do. And you got to be willing to sacrifice, virtually every other part of your life to do it. And that's the same. So that's my advice is if you want to do it, you just have to do it. That's it. If that's follow your heart.
Well, Mark, Don, and Mel obviously took that to heart, and you guys have been so successful for so many years, and we're just very proud of you, and just keep on rocking because we're going to keep on listening to you guys.
Thanks, DC. That sounds like fun. We're really looking forward to playing the Wildflower Festival. We've played it several times before, and it's a great event.
Oh, yeah. Well, Don, I appreciate you taking all this time to chat with me today.
Hey, Thanks, Daryl.
And the guys from Grand Funk Railroad will be playing the Wildflower Arts and Music Festival at 10 p.m. this coming Saturday, May 18th, and I look forward to seeing all you guys there. For more information about Grand Funk Railroad, you can find them at grandfunkrailroad.com. Thanks for watching Barside Jive. Keep it real and keep on rocking.
Hey guys, this is Don Brewer from Grand Funk Railroad, and you're watching Barside Jive Live.
Welcome back. Hope you guys enjoyed that chat with Don Brewer of Grand Funk Railroad as much as I did. Listen, my featured cigar segment is sponsored by the Old Grapevine Cigar and Tobacco Shop located in historic downtown Grapevine, Texas. Today I'm featuring the Crowned Heads La Imperosa. Crowned Heads is a different breed of cigar company with a rebellious, take-no-prisoners attitude and a small batch approach to blending. They already boast a slew of highly rated cigars. From their core lines to their limited edition blends, Crowned Heads cigars are among the most popular and talked about sticks today. If you don't believe me, ask them. Yeah. Meet La Imperosa, hailing from the My Father factory in Nicaragua. Yeah. This hearty blend comes lovingly dressed in oily and dark Ecuadorian Habano Oscuro wrapper, concealing a choice blend of Nicaraguan long fillers. La Imperosa is full-bodied, very full-bodied, and oh so delicious, with highlights of red pepper, fruit, earth, and leather. Yeah. The complex and rich notes are perfectly balanced and will have your palate begging for more. Stop by Old Grapevine Cigar and Tobacco Shop, see Denna, Tom, or Kenny, and ask them to make a recommendation for you. Mention Barside Jive for 10% off your total purchase. They also have a huge selection of pipe tobaccos for you pipe smokers out there, so check that out. Coming up Saturday, September 21, from 2 to 4 p.m. That's my next Cigar and Cider event, right there on the patio of Outlaw Cider in historic downtown Grapevine, Texas. The address is 112 East Texas Street. A $20 ticket will buy you a pint of Outlaw's legendary cider, a Crowned Heads premium cigar, and a raffle ticket. Tickets are available at Old Grapevine Cigar, at Outlaw Cider, and through yours truly. My final notes, guys, do not forget to check my Facebook page, facebook.com/Barside Jive Live, for my daily dose every single freaking day. You can join me as I peel back the pages and explore the past, present, and future of the rock legends, much like Don Brewer with Grand Funk Railroad. On my daily dose of rock music, then make sure to catch my Sunday Barside Jive Live Rewind every episode, which takes a look back at the archives going back 2-3 years ago. Rewind episodes are available on Sundays on my Facebook page. Again, it's facebook.com/Barside Jive Live, or my YouTube channel where I archive them, youtube.com/Barside Jive Live. You can also catch my Tuesday and Thursday shows live here at vocalnow.com. And remember, that's always vocal with a
Hey.
Absolutely it is. 7:31 p.m. Central Standard Time. Every Tuesday I feature cover and tribute bands and sometimes a legendary singer-songwriter from like Grand Funk Railroad. My visual arts segment, Art Jive Live. And last but not least, my Tipsy freaking Gypsy, Bre Akers. She's bringing some drinks from behind the bar. And on Thursdays at 7:31 p.m. Central Standard Time, I feature original singer-songwriters. And, of course, my Tipsy Gypsy rides back in for another epicsode. All my content, including my daily dose, my live shows, are archived on my YouTube channel. I know I've said that once, but I'm going to say it one more time. Hey, guys, remember, vocalnow.com is home to the zoo.
The Zoo.
On Vocal.
It's also home to Barside Jive. It's also home to Brad Shams Then and Now, as well as Rangers on Deck and Whining and Dining with Jim White. Guys, there's a ton of content, vocalnow.com. Check it out. So get your Zoo Freak on and download the app, Vocal now. For more about me, go to my website, barsidejive.com. Whether you guys create music or some other form of art, or maybe you want to be a sponsor or advertise on one of my shows, or maybe you just have an idea you want to reach out, the email address is dc@barsidejive.com. My show today has also been brought to you by Hip and Hippie. Hip and Hippie is a planet-loving company known for its high-quality, earth-friendly, 100% recyclable candle line and natural body care products. It's no wonder eco-supporting people love Hip and Hippie. hipandhippie.com. Thanks to Bre Akers for serving as our staff photographer today. We are always looking for amazing photographers that would like to work in a live studio environment. So give me a shout if you're interested, dc@barsidejive.com. I want to thank Jay and Jimmy, our production team, for their hard work and all the upgrades and all the TLC they provide ODC. Right, Jay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, Jay, what's your favorite part of the show?
I really like Bre Akers.
Anyway, so
part,
guys, we are out of
the
here.
segment,
Thanks again
her
so
segment.
much for being here. Now be kind to one another. Keep it real. Keep on rocking. See you next Tuesday.